See Sam Tuell versus Dan Jessup. It's going to be our featured match. On the other tables, Legacy, we have Sean O'Brien versus Brad Carpenter. Brad playing Grixis Delver. Monrad Prison's actually got some good representation here on day 2.
Yeah.
Middle seat, it's Affinity versus Black-Green mid-range. It's one of those matchups. The fact that there's no white or red cards in the Tarmogoyf deck does hurt them in this matchup.
Most definitely. Don't get access to things like Ancient Grudge on the sideboard either. Just some fine cards, but that one's going to be an uphill battle relative to the other builds of the green-black decks.
All right, both players should know what's up here. Dan starts on Dragon Skull Summit, and for Sam, turn 1, Minister of Inquiries.
Yeah, that one doesn't really go in too many decks.
Nope. Blocks Bomat Couriers, though.
It's
one
so
of the
messed
nicer
up.
things that it does.
Just give this card 2 toughness.
Ooh, and on Dan's side, he's kept a 1-lander. When they start on Dragon Skull Summit, you are always concerned about that. And you look at Dan's hand, it looks like it's multiple Bomat Couriers. Ugh.
Yeah, they turn on your Inventor's Apprentice. The thing about the Blue-Red Godpharaoh's Gift deck, though, is it's so fast.
Walking Ballista on 1 for Sam. And we're going to get to see the gift deck do its own thing here. As P and Alar, the draw for Dan. He may not get off the ground here. I mean, he can make Bomat Courier. Sam taps his Minister of Inquiries. Looks like Sam will take 2 off Inventor's Apprentice. Goes to 18.
You can just shoot down the Courier if you're so
And then
inclined and block. I am kind of interested in that.
That's what he's going to do. All right, not going to stay at 20. I guess his deck wants Ballista in the graveyard anyway.
Yeah, makes your Gate to the Afterlifes better. You want to build that one up. Milled
3.
over here. A Warkite Marauder hitting the bin.
Oh, yeah.
4 copies of that in this deck. Combines really nicely with Walking Ballista. That's one of the things that this deck does.
So on Ballista, we're going to see another one here. And another Minister. Let's just keep going. There is a Gate to the Afterlife in Sam's hand.
Yeah, pretty close to going off. 2 creatures in the graveyard so far, but access to 3 more Minister Mills. That should get him there.
All right, well, Dan hits a land. We'll see what he can do. He's well behind pace right now.
Notably, Dan has an Abrade in hand, but you need to get onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
The Blue-Red Gift deck can just beat you up with these anemic creatures.
Scrap Heap Scrounger is the play, and he'll swing. So interestingly, Sam can triple block the Inventor's Apprentice, and he'd only lose 1 creature. It's not a horrible play. He's going to pass on it and just mill himself for 2, but I thought we might see it.
Yeah, he'd like to make sure he sets up his Godpharaoh's Gift. And from 20, taking a hit, not so bad.
Well, no, if he just triple blocks, right? Then he just trades 1 creature.
Yeah,
It's a 1-for-1.
Losing 1 Minister means he does lose milling.
Okay.
So, suppose you still get to mill the same over 2 turns.
4th land from Sam. He does have Gate to the Afterlife in hand.
Yeah, or you can just hang out and crank up the Ballista. That's what he elects to do. Not really a huge difference between having your Gate hit by an Abrade versus having your Godpharaohs get hit by the Abrade. Though pumping the Ballista could make your blocks better this turn. You can start to fire at some of these creatures.
I think if you wanted to pump the Ballista, he may have wanted to do it main phase in case there was a removal spell.
Well, if it's like a Braid, you want the Ballista to be abraded, right?
Yeah, right here he doesn't get to remove anything.
Well, here Dan's abrading his Ballista. That means he should be set up to get a Gate to the Afterlife on the battlefield. Find his Godpharaoh's Gift.
Down, swing in for 5, Sam to 13.
For Dan, he does have to connect here. Not really long on options.
Needs 6 or more creatures in the graveyard, but look, with 6 more cards in the graveyard, that should be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
He does need 5 mana. There it is.
Easy. Yeah, Sulfur Falls, kind of an upgrade for this deck. Makes the mana a little bit better.
Yep. Gate to the Afterlife. Sacrifice it. Get this Godpharaoh's Gift out of the graveyard. Godpharaoh's Gift into play. Here we go.
Yeah, what have we milled over? I'm seeing a lot of Fanatical Firebrands.
Not the most impressive card to reanimate, but it'll work.
Hey, any 4/4 for a taste is nice.
Ooh,
but
I think
this
we
one's
see,
a little
how
bit
about
better.
This one? Combat Celebrant. 4/4. Swings the team. Can exert. You untap your other creatures.
Start a new combat step. Trigger Godpharaoh's Gift again.
I like this part of the deck. All right. So Dan takes 6. Exert trigger, new combat step. Let's reanimate something else. Is there another combat celebrant?
Don't know that I've seen one.
That pen just keeps aggroing the lands on the bottom. I don't know if you noticed. It's like keeps pushing it away. It's about 7 times. It's come back. Yeah. It's going to keep going.
There's kind of a slope on the Atlanta terrain.
He's going to reanimate champion. Draw 4, discard 2.
Pretty good. Yeah, remember, champion checks on the power of it. Doesn't care if it's brought back by the God Pharaoh's Gift or by you eternalizing it. And another combat celebrant in the holdings. Pretty reasonable to put that in the graveyard. And he does.
And he will. Puts it there with an island. Swings in. Going to leave back the champion. Swings in for 2 more. Jessup down to 11.
He's at 13. I suppose having a blocker is pretty reasonable.
Pen's back again. Just keeps coming on in.
And this is a real uphill battle for Dan. If you have another Abrade, you probably just have to take care of the God Pharaoh's Gift. That other celebrant coming back is likely going to just beat you next turn.
And Dan's going to pick up the cards. So, Blue-Red Gift, Sam Tuell capitalizes on some missed land drops by Dan and really shows off the strength of his deck. A turn 5 win there.
Yep.
Impressive stuff. That's the first game on the table to complete. Sam Tuell up 1-0. We're going to look at some sideboards and hope that Dan can put something better together in our second game when we come back. So welcome back here in the match between Sam Tuell and Dan Jessup. During the break, we had all of game 1's finish, and it was a split. Andrew Jessup takes the game 1 in Modern, but Sean O'Brien on Prison takes Legacy. Going then to the sideboards, Ryan, we have red-black aggro. Dan's going to have to be fast, because once we see what happens once we start getting to turn 5 from the Blue-Red Gift deck.
Bad things. Yeah, on the sideboard here for Dan Jessup, we have 3 Doomfall, 2 Arguel's Bloodfast.
Ooh, that one's fast.
It is, it says fast, but it's deceptive.
Ah.
Yeah, we have 2 Abrade, 2 Duress, 2 Sweltering Suns, a Glorybringer, a Magma Spray, a Scavenger Grounds, and a Chandra Torch of Defiance. So stuff that deals with the graveyard pretty good. Scavenger Grounds, that one's kind of obvious here. The 2 Abrades that deal with God Pharaoh's Gift, that is going to be important. Now, when you play a blue deck against God Pharaoh's Gift, you kind of want Negate, and along those lines, I'm kind of interested in Duress just to hit Negate to the Afterlife before it comes down. It's not the most impressive card.
That's what I was interested in, because I want to play Duress. At the same time, Sam's deck list has 6 non-creature cards.
Right. It is a fair amount worse than Negate.
Could we just play Doomfall? Or is that just
costs more? It costs the same amount of mana, so that is troublesome. And also, you just need to keep applying pressure.
All right. Fair enough. On Sam's side, 3 Abrades of his own. I have to think he'll want those. 2 Whirler Virtuoso, 2 Padim, 2 Negate, 2 Silent Gravestone, a Chandra of his own, an Aethersphere Harvester, a Spell Pierce, and Jace's Defeat.
So Aethersphere Harvester good against any red deck. That much makes sense. Whirler Virtuoso also tends to make your blocks pretty easy in a matchup like this.
Yeah, he's just buying time. So like removal and blockers seems good.
Yep. Abrade will buy more time, as you said.
Are there cards that Sam wants to get away from in the main deck? What does he board out?
So you kind of like the stuff like Walking Ballista and Fanatical Firebrand. It can often deal with a creature. Trophy Mage, probably a little on the slow side. Don't love that one.
We'll see. Bomat Couriers to start from Dan Jessup. Card under, and Sam sends Sam to 19. I guess Sam has Bomat Couriers of his own. They seem worse here.
Yeah, they certainly can be.
Turn 1, Mountain here from Sam. A lot of 2-mana action. Not sure if he has anything on 1. He looks like he has boarded in at least 1 Negate. So go down to 18.
If you have the mana to fight over an Abrade, Negate can be pretty impactful.
Scrap Heap Scoundrel from Dan. Checks for Magma Spray. Nothing on Sam's side. Negate and Abrade are Sam's 2-mana plays available. He's facing down some significant pressure. Looks like also Walking Ballista. He'll just make that on 1.
Yeah, the creature you want to deal with typically first is going to be the Bomat Courier.
Right.
You'd like to hit something with a little more toughness with your Abrade.
So and because there's so many cards left in Dan's hand, the play of block, sack, kill, Bomat, Courier, it's okay to let Dan put another card under the Courier. It's really unlikely he's popping it.
Right. Discarding 4 to draw 3 is not ideal. Yes, you get to block the Scrounger and then shoot the Courier.
And that's what he'll do. Gives Dan the option to pitch his hand. Dan does not take it. No damage. Pia Nalar's the follow-up. More pressure, though. It's representing 6 damage on the following turn. Another Ballista picked up here from Sam. But nothing, no X1s for it to shoot down just yet. Outside of that Thopter, I don't think he'd like that play.
Not a great use of a Ballista.
No. We'll see Combat Celebrant, the play from Sam, just casting the 4-1.
Not a great board for that one either.
No, I mean, it can trade with Pia Nalar, and I guess if you're just trying to get creatures into the graveyard, you could do worse.
Yeah. Yeah, in the early game, sometimes his creatures just function as bad removal spells, which is fine.
Here's Bomat Courier from Dan. It'll swing in, put a card under itself. We'll see whether Sam opts to just trade that Celebrant off with Pia. I think he will. Unless there's some great counter race he can do.
Yeah, when you just have Celebrant, it's tough. When you have other creatures, you can generate a ton of damage with this one.
Right.
But on its lonesome, not very impressive.
Looks like he's counting. He counts it up. We see 7. It could pump to 8. And Sam's going to take the whole damage. Goes to 11.
Okay. Trying to set up a battlefield of his own.
Warkite Marauder, the draw.
It's a pretty tall order, though.
Got the 4th land. He has Walking Ballista. That's not bad here. Make it a 2-2. It can shoot something and then do more later.
Might be able to start casting 2 spells a turn here, which would be very beneficial. He has one of his Vizier of Many Faces in hand. Copying Pia Nalar does make some reasonable ground on this battlefield.
He does have a good composition of mana costs and spells and lands. You know, he can double 2 here. He does have the Vizier you're mentioning. But it's not clear how good any of this is. Makes Aether Hub. He has Negate, Abrade, Vizier, Walking Ballista.
I was thinking about a Walking Ballista on 2. It doesn't really deal with as much. I think the Vizier is kind of just better than that.
Yeah, so cast Vizier of Many Faces, copying Pia Nalar. Gets a Thopter alongside.
Yep. There's no removal spell. You get to trade evenly with that, which is just fine. We'll see if Sam decides to attack with the Combat Celebrant. Part of his plan, it seems like he kind of wants to keep that around and then to go wide over time. Getting in a chip shot's not the worst. Getting 2 blocks makes this plan a little bit better. With that clone on the Pia Nalar here. If you're not blocking last turn, not attacking here seems like you just gave up some life.
Swings for 4.
And that is
16.
I don't know if this is necessarily correct, but it's consistent, and I like that about this attack.
There's the Thopter next to Pia. Abrade and Glorybringer in Dan's hand, but look at his lands, and not a lot needs to happen for Glorybringer.
Just a mountain.
Yeah. Dragon Skull Summit would work.
He only plays 4 swamp.
And just he draws basic mountain.
Yeah, that should be pretty
that's
good.
Great. Should speed up Dan's clock. He's looking to close in 2 turns. I think he can do it. Has to decide if he wants to exert the dragon here.
Yeah, just attacking with the dragon is pretty reasonable. Exerting on the Vizier itself, maybe not ideal, as the Vizier can embalm back and be a Glorybringer.
Okay. Yeah, I could see some concern on that. So,
though if you attack with any ground creatures, you open yourself up to that.
Yeah, so if you're going to make that play, then are you just swinging with Glorybringer?
Yeah, if as soon as you commit to attacking with ground creatures, then you probably do just want to exert. You get the maximum possible damage this way.
Right, you don't want to copy Glorybringer with an exerted Combat Celebrant. That's 2 exerts of Glorybringer.
There is notable you know, Sam's life total is pretty low.
Yes. I think if Dan's going to make this play, he actually needs to exert and remove Combat Celebrant. Maybe not. He'll remove the Vizier.
With the Celebrant, even getting Vizier on Glorybringer, Sam can only hit for 12 on the following turn.
Well, it's 14 with the Thopter, but still not enough.
Right. I assume the Thopter's unblocking Doodle. We have exactly lethal coming in, right?
Let's see. 4, 7. Okay, yeah, it's 11. All right, Sam's blocking. Good
Yeah.
call.
All right, and Dan does exert on the Vizier.
Right. Just a bit too much damage for Sam to deal with. He had another life point to work with. He could not block here, maybe do something in that regard. This game, a lot of times, Sam's game plan is to really just trade and survive and then land a Haymaker with Godpharaoh's Gift or Gate to the Afterlife.
Right.
Was not, despite all the trading here, I mean, like I said, lands and spells in a good composition. His cards just weren't really up to the task. We're seeing he has an Abrade in hand and a Gate in hand, which wasn't able to meaningfully convert.
Mm-hmm. He's just light on creatures in graveyard. He won't be able to make a Godpharaoh's Gift next turn. Chump block on the Glorybringer. That'll put him at 4.
Draws for turn.
So next turn there's 4 attackers. None of them are lethal. I suppose Scrounger plus P and Alar activation is. Still has a Walking Ballista in hand, so you can set up to make a block with that, and you can shoot down some of the other attackers, and then the Glorybringer won't be attacking next turn and try to figure out something on the following turn. I don't know if he has the resources to get enough creatures in his graveyard this turn and set up with a Gate on the following turn, though.
Walking Ballista on 1 from Sam, and he has to say go. If you were to swing with Celebrant, that second ability on Pia would likely be lethal here.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't do it. He's going to try to survive this turn, and then next turn when Glorybringer is no longer exerted, that's going to be easy. And it might not matter. Hazaret was the draw, I believe, for Dan.
Yeah, I believe his options in hand are Hazaret and Abrade. They both are pretty functionally similar here, actually. Just get a blocker out of the way.
Hazaret's the flashier one, and that's what Dan's going to do. He'll like that style.
It's the more demoralizing card.
Well, it actually, I mean, Sam is sitting on a negate, so this was the right choice.
Yeah, that much is certainly working out.
Just counting it out is Dan.
Also, reasonable chance Dan wants to sacrifice his Bomat Courier on this turn cycle.
To which ability? That's what we're going to see.
Yeah, I think he's turning off a blocker here, actually.
Right. No blocks for the Walking Ballista. And here comes the team. Card under Bomat Courier. Sam, if he blocks the Hazaret and shoots down Bomat Courier, he still takes 5.
Right.
There's no way, unless he's got another spell, there's no way to make this work.
Not positive. I thought he had a Braid in his hand.
Yeah, but regardless, he has to lose the Combat Celebrant.
Right.
And that's the big win. There isn't a Braid in Sam's hand. He'll get to survive, but to what end? Not sure. Here's Scrap Heap Scrounger getting abraded down. Combat Celebrant can block Hazaret. Sam can take 3, go to 1. But I don't know how he's dealing 16 on the swing back. Not enough creatures in graveyard for Gate to the Afterlife to do it. And Champion of Wits certainly isn't going to.
Yeah. Drawing extra cards is nice, but it's 2 mana inefficient.
And Dan just has too much pressure. Sam cannot tread water long enough. Dan Jessup takes game number 2, and they even it up. Same time, Saul Malka evening up the modern match, so a lot still to go. We're going to put Sam back on the play when we return for game 3. Scrounger really just kept converting for damage, and I think at the end of the day that Sam's deck is a lot of draft commons until he makes Godpharaoh's Gift, and Dan's deck is really efficient rare attackers. Just until it means that if they just play long enough in the early turns, Jessup will just be ahead.
The draft commons aren't horrendous in the matchup, to be fair. A turn 1 Minister of Inquiries would have actually been pretty good in that game.
That would have been great. You're not wrong.
But yeah, the combo draws, this deck can be blisteringly fast, but you pretty much have to have those draws against a deck that's as fast as red-black aggro.
Yeah, this is, especially post-board, just going to be a red deck on Dan's side. We saw Sam bring in a negate for game 2. Do you think it's still there based on how that played out?
I just don't feel like you generally have the mana to leverage that. A little bit easier on the play, but so much of what's happening is just creatures. I think because the gift deck is in the position where I'm going to make God Pharaoh's Gift, it should win me the game. If not this turn, then next turn you have to have a Braid. And you're forcing that action on a Braid, it doesn't really make sense to have negate to back that up.
Well, if you look at that game, Sam never could leave 2 mana up for negate. That's just he's too far behind.
Yeah. And the more proactively you're trying to execute your game plan, and the more it forces your opponent to do something. Meanwhile, your creatures kind of play a control role. Pivoting and having a negate on top of that is kind of asking a lot of your deck.
Now Sam's going to be on a mulligan here. You see him going to 6. Could be fine. He's a combo deck after all.
Yeah, the value you generate once you get God Pharaoh's Gift going, that undoes a whole lot. In this particular build, when we started looking at combat celebrants and Vizier of Many Faces, you can just win the turn you assemble a God Pharaoh's Gift.
Looks like he has a pretty strong 6, so put that on the play, might be just fine. Let's do him. This is going to decide the match here. We'll start off with Sam. And Bomat Courier of his own off island. I like that.
Big fan. That is my kind of magic.
Oh, man. That's back again. Ah, this keeps kind of... Someone get that guy a pen cap. Sideways right now. It can only roll toward Dan.
Well, that's not the way that the slope goes on this turn.
Yeah, I mean, and watch. Okay, it's going to... Sends Dan to 18.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
That's the wrong way.
Here's Walking Ballista. It's coming back. It's... oh. Here's a Walking Ballista of Dan's own.
Fun song and dance with dueling ballistas.
That is just a complicated board to try to figure out how to play correctly when there's lots of ballistas. I always screw it up. Here's another ballista on 1. Oh, boy. Okay. Generally, how this works is if you're the guy who shoots first, it's bad.
Yes.
Now, this is interesting. There's only 2 cards under Bomat Courier with the 3rd trigger on the stack. Dan is considering shooting Bomat Courier, but remember the blue-red gift wants a lot of things in the graveyard. So whereas Dan doesn't pitch his whole hand on turn 3 because that's a crazy play, Sam might do it because that could be great.
If it's even or close to even on cards, you can put more creatures in your graveyard.
Yeah, 2 cards in hand. Ooh.
These Bomat Courier and the Walking Ballista, they fill you up.
And so he's going to activate it, discards Combat Celebrant and land, picks up. He doesn't even know it. He doesn't even look. He still doesn't know.
I think he still needs to exile his top card, right?
Yes. Yes, he does. There we go.
Yeah.
That one's gone.
That's not going to be a part of this game.
Passes back to
There
Dan.
are 2 God Pharaoh's Gifts in the deck, though, so it shouldn't punish him immensely.
No, that pen's coming close to the ballista again.
Oh, yeah, that's what's going to punish him.
All right, another ballista from Dan.
Jeez. Walking Ballista the Gathering.
Well, if Dan wants to shoot one of them, he actually needs to do it soon because if Sam makes an untapped land here, which he's going to, now it gets weirder. I guess that's thinking both. Dan can just block one of them, and that's a good play.
Yep.
And then they'll trade, and no one can do anything here because if Sam taps his mana, it's bad.
Correct. Shrug.
All right,
Shrug.
They trade.
Trade. Big fan.
Take 1. Gate to the Afterlife cast by Sam. Look at the graveyard. There are 3 creatures in it right now.
And you might be thinking, Sam kind of missed a trigger on there with the Ballista leaving, but leaving up that activation during combat was relevant.
Otherwise, he could block shoot, so it's 1 point of damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a point of damage.
You also you gave Dan an opportunity to make a mistake there.
5 cards in hand for Jessup.
Which one of these do I abrade?
Yeah. I want Gate to the Afterlife.
I am pretty sure it's Gate.
not Walking Ballista.
not super into raiding the Walking Ballista.
Yeah, Dan, it looks like a Braid, 2 Bomat Couriers, and Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Well, your other cards are pretty bad against the Ballista, though.
Yeah, it's actually close, isn't it? That's so gross. Aether Sphere Harvester, the last one? Yes, it is. He still abrades Gate to the Afterlife. It's just too scary. Especially if you braid the Ballista, that's another creature in the graveyard. He'll make Scrap Heap Scrounger and pass, but he'll need a removal spell for the Ballista. Back over to Sam we go. Combat Celebrant picked up. Don't mind that. Don't mind putting a counter on Ballista.
Yeah, he's ahead on life totals. He has not taken any damage yet. So getting a 4-1 on the battlefield, pretty reasonable. It just hits harder on the crackback than the Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Yeah. Well, that's not, apologies, he may not have that. Aether Hub's the play. 1 card left. We'll see, it may not be the Celebrant.
Okay.
Okay, just missed it. Says go, leaves up his land. First result in, Saul Malka, the winner in Modern. 2 games to 1, he defeats Andrew Jessup. So if Sam can pick up the win with Gift here, that's going to end the round.
Yeah, green-black might not be as good as Gender Abzan in the matchup, but you do have a lot of relevant tools.
You're still a removal spell deck against Affinity. You have game.
The Ghost Corridors are actually fairly good in the matchup.
Scrap Heap Scrounger will swing in for 3 to put Sam down to 17. He'll take 3 more mana. Aether Sphere Harvester from Dan. So in Sam's position, it looks concerning because Dan is just full up on cards. However, Dan's hand is a bunch of X1s. It's actually fairly weak here. As he makes Inventor's Apprentice. The last 2 cards, both Bomat Couriers. Says go. Likely Sam's putting a counter on Ballista. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the stuff Dan has on the battlefield is pretty reasonable, but the leftovers in hand, not so much. Gets a lot better if he finds an answer to this Walking Ballista. Sam's not going to have any good attacks for a short while here because of that Harvester. So plan, unless you drew something particularly good, likely is just to pump up the Ballista and hang out.
And that's working. The Ballista gets up to 3-3. You can start just blocking Inventor's Apprentice, and then gets to 4-4 and blocks, kills everything. Of course, if that's the plan for Sam, all it's going to take is 1 Abrade off the top from Dan, and then this House of Cards falls. Another Bomat Courier for 12, but leaves up 4 for his Ballista, and he'll say go. Can't really attack with Bomat.
Yeah. Couple good blocking options for Dan.
I think he's debating if there is an Abrade drawn by Dan, if he wants to just put the counter on now. Says no. With only 1 card in hand, I'm not really sure Dan's going to respect the open mana. And there is a problem here. Dan did draw Hazoret.
That one's powerful, and once you get that one on the battlefield, you don't really care about throwing away the Bomat Couriers.
Right, he'll cast 1 Bomat Courier. That one, even if it's removed, can take care of Aether Sphere Harvester. He'll use that to crew the Harvester.
Yeah, he does not want to discard that Hazoret in hand, so I like that crewing there. And you want to get the Courier out of hand so that you can actually attack with the Hazoret.
And then he swings Scrap Heap Scrounger and Aether Sphere Harvester. Both are 3 power, so they would trade with the Ballista. That probably means they're off the table for Sam, as he'll take 6. 3 of it with lifelink. Sam to 11, Dan up to 19. Or would be where they're not in a braid. Sam will cast that, no counter on Ballista. Just takes 3, goes to 14.
The crewing and casting Bomat Courier is suspicious here. It would make sense that one of Dan's cards is a Hazoret, because you're just throwing away that creature.
It's interesting, Dan will just cast the other Bomat Courier to the board then.
At least it looks like that card is very good. It is a bit weird that Dan wouldn't just cast Hazoret and use that to crew the Harvester. Perhaps he's bluffing Abrade being the last 2 mana here. Which is the sort of thing that Sam would want to respect.
Sure.
At some point, though, it becomes obvious that it's not available because of the Walking Ballista.
Ryan, he's drawn Gate to the Afterlife, so hold on here. Let's get a count. On the graveyard, we have 1, 2, 3 creatures. For Sam, it's 4, 5 on the board. He doesn't have enough for Gate yet. It's close.
Especially because when these ones die, they allow him to loot.
Right. He's going to shoot down his own Bomat Courier. Gains a life.
And draws and discards Island. Would have loved to have seen a creature there.
Yeah, he's hoping to just get lucky and mill over a creature.
He gets one more look at it.
So there's 4 creatures in the graveyard right now. If Sam wants to go for it, if that next card in his deck is a creature, he's good. If it's not, he's in a world of trouble.
Well, there's some concern about how good God Pharaoh's Gift even is on this turn.
Right. What's the best thing it gets back is a Bomat Courier?
It almost feels like cranking up the Ballista would have actually been better here. Even if he hits.
It might have been. We're well past that point now.
Well, yeah, you can't make that decision anymore.
Yeah. There's no big hit in the graveyard, right? There is no?
There's a combat celebrant.
Okay.
So you could get 2 things, but then the celebrant's exerted.
Yeah. Interesting.
He is at 15, so he has some life to play with.
Right now consulting with teammate Saul Malka. If Sam gets this game, that is the match. Now, they have more outs for a team. Over on the legacy table, it's Sean O'Brien and Brad Carpenter. If Sean O'Brien gets a win with Prison, then match is over. Carpenter and Dan Jessup need to win all remaining games. And after missing the first time, Sam just says go.
Yeah, be able to save a little bit of damage with the Walking Ballista block with this route.
Dan now just has to try to fire off damage as fast as possible. He knows that the Gate to the Afterlife and God Pharaoh's Gift are on their way. But maybe it's fine. He has plenty of damage in play.
Yeah, it's not a lot of draws that would deter him from just jamming Hazoret here. Short list is Abrade. Suppose you wouldn't mind having an unlicensed disintegration up. That would get you through 1 turn. Other card is a Bomat Courier. If you jam with a bunch of Bomat Couriers, that gets you a couple looks at finding an Abrade, and if you feel like you can't win the game without an Abrade, makes sense to go down that road. If the creature that Sam finds after looting and going through this Ballista is another combat celebrant, his damage output increases dramatically. Get to bring back with the first celebrant, jam for 4, exert, bring back the second celebrant, exert that one, untap the first, get a 3rd creature, and attack 1 more time. That's actually 16 damage.
Okay. I see both Jessups working on this one.
Yeah, so that's 5 cards in the entire deck.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the specific creature he mills over might matter.
Leaving back Inventor's Apprentice keeps you alive for 1 turn, though I don't know if Dan's going to be shy of lethal in 2, I think. I think you kind of have to just force Sam to have it here. I think you just jam the Hazoret, attack for a bunch of damage, and say, I hope that your top card is just bad.
Okay.
Like that just better be another land. Or some of these small number of non-creature spells in the deck.
Sure. As if Sam mills over something like Vizier of Many Faces, that's what we're worried about. That could go off.
Second Celebrant or Vizier to become a second Celebrant.
So, Dan casts Hazoret, 1 card in hand. Hazoret can attack. Could leave back a blocker.
And
No reason.
I like this line, and a big part of it is because the other line is just so speculative, based on both what happens for Sam and what Dan is actually able to draw with these couriers. Likely to see a block on Hazoret and hitting one of the Bomat couriers with that walking ballista.
So swing for 12 is here for Dan. Sam will consult here with teammate Saul Malka. So Hazoret blocked by Walking Ballista. It will shoot down Bomat Courier. We get a life gain and an activation off that Gate to the Afterlife. Is it going to hit a creature? No, it's a mountain. Big miss for Sam.
Drawing another ballista and casting it for 0 is a redraw.
All right. Yeah, there aren't too many creatures on his side that can actually remove themselves. Minister of Inquiries. Bomat Courier. Hey, that works.
Yeah.
Discard. That's creature number 6. Gate to the Afterlife trigger. Gains a life. Draw and discard. But now he needs to hit that Combat Celebrant, and it's a mountain. I don't think that's good enough, Ryan. Maybe he can get another turn. Sacrifices Gate to the Afterlife, getting God Pharaoh's Gift.
Yes, that was his 6th creature, but he's shy of lethal because of it not being the specific thing.
God Pharaoh's Gift. Into play, he can get a 4/4. Any of the creatures from the graveyard, and he's going to have to just have it be a blocker, right? For now.
Yeah, so the choices are making a blocker where we're facing down, just lethal on the battlefield. You have the option to get Celebrant, Exert, and also get a blocker.
I'll get Combat Celebrant as a 4/4. Exert it in. Get another combat step.
You probably make the other card a Bomat Courier because you can sacrifice it.
Okay, he'll do Walking Ballista. Can't actually sacrifice that one anymore, as it has no counters on it, but is a 4/4.
I guess, now that he's actually traded in the Gate, the self-sacrifice doesn't really matter anymore. So
Right. There's no set Gate in play.
And you can pump up the Ballista.
And go back over to Dan. 2 cards in hand. One of them was a mountain for the turn. Mountain Bomat Courier. Looks across the board. If he casts Bomat Courier, he still just doesn't have lethal here. The largest creature is blocked. He can swing in for 7 and discard a card to deal 9, but that's just short.
You can cast the Courier, attack with all the Couriers, and sacrifice them before blocks, hoping to find an Abrade.
Okay.
Pretty aggressive.
But it could win. I don't mind. He may actually just want to swing the 1 Courier because I don't know if he can. I was going to say I'd want him to, because then he can open the door for Unlicensed Disintegration to also be a win. So it's 1 fewer card, but it's more outs. I think the math works out better that way.
Yeah, depending on how much of each of those cards are in the deck.
Right. So you'd have to play the land 5 first, swing, 2nd counter under Courier, activate, hope.
Yep.
So, see if you can do it. Dan, land 5. I guess he can actually do all of the above. He can play the Courier, pop first Courier that's on 2. Then if he doesn't see Disintegration, pop the 2nd Courier.
Sure, check that last card for an Abrade.
Yeah. He'll lose the Disintegration out on the 2nd Courier, but that's fine.
Yeah, particularly if the 2 cards off the first Courier are just bad. Say they're lands or more creatures.
Yeah, I think really if he doesn't find the removal spell in the first one, then he's just off it.
Yeah.
So, looks like that's the line he'll be on. Play 2nd Bomat Courier. Swings, team, triggers, extra cards. Now, what we're thinking he's going to do is that Courier with 2 cards on it, he's going to pop right now. to find removal spell before blocks.
He has that option. He doesn't necessarily have to.
Okay, and he's not going to. So Hazoret's blocked, and he actually decides to just take the 7 and go to 4. Yeah. Says go.
As long as Sam doesn't win the game on this turn,
right,
which I don't know that he can do, this
this
will
is
be
fine.
lethal. And maintaining these extra bodies make it so, you know, Sam can block your Hazoret, but then you have just other creatures coming across.
Yeah, it doesn't sure enough damage on the follow-up.
And actually, Dan can sacrifice one of the Bomat couriers, activate Hazoret on the end step here, and then Hazoret's just lethal just by activating. So he definitely has this locked up if he gets another turn. So yeah, Sam just has to win it here. And yeah, cracking the 2-card courier.
So Walking Ballista brought back with Godpharaoh's Gift. That's not too bad.
And you're going to see Dan activate Hazoret on end step here. Sam's at 2.
Stands at 2, draws a card, and there we go. Dan Jessup gets the match, which means all eyes are on Legacy. Sean O'Brien and Brad Carpenter. Brad just took game number 2. They're going to go to 3. Now, there was an 8-minute extension on the Legacy table, so plenty of time for either player to win. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back with the deciding match of Sean O'Brien versus Brad. Feel about this deck. Blood Moon can actually be pretty good against a deck with no basics.
Yeah, so Haymakers are very good. The matchup actually feels fairly similar to playing against Goblin Charbelcher.
Okay.
They're frequently going to check you for a Force of Will, and some of their cards do actually just win the game on turn 1 in some of the games. Blood Moon or Chalice of the Void, they can just knock you out.
Right, and in this game 3, Sean is going to be on the play.
Yep. One difference is that sometimes they Force of Will check you, you pass, and then Mono Red Prison is just like, all right, here's Hanweir Garrison.
And you don't care.
Can you beat that? Sometimes you can't.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not you don't care. You don't care about Belcher being like, okay, well,
right, when you pass
your
the
draw card, your turn. My cards don't do anything.
Belcher dumped 5 cards into their turn 1.
Right, where like Mono Red Prison, it does not reset in impressive ways, but it's very low maintenance to reset. They're going to continue to have access to 3-4 mana. PN Kieran Nalar can just cold you.
Yeah, that card's hard to deal with from out of a Legacy deck.
Now, a lot of this stuff does just lose to Lightning Bolt, so
Yep.
that is worth noting. But yeah, I think it's on average a tougher matchup than Belcher for the blue decks.
Sean on the play. You hate, and he's keeping on 7. I'm always scared about that when I'm playing against these style decks.
The hope is that they incorrectly kept on 7.
Yeah, when they it's like when you know they're playing a Stompy deck, and they look at you and they look at the hand and they just go, keep, real fast. You're just like, oh no.
I hope it's just turn 1 Chalice and you didn't look at your other cards and they're bad. That's that's what I'm hoping for.
Brad mulligans.
Mulliganing 2 Force of Will is very smart, but you have to hit it and you go down a card when you do hit it.
Looks like a sleeve flipped. There you are. That's why he's doing his deck face up. He mulliganed his hand back in upside down.
In
well played, Bradley.
Typical Brad fashion. Tighten up. Bradley Carpenter, he likes to stream decks that he does not know how to play. Twitch.tv/BradBerigmos Enraged. Had a really good stream with Amulet.
Yeah, he killed himself on turn 2.
Just cast a Summoner's Pact and had no way to pay for it.
On turn 1 Amulet. Turn 2 was like, sick, this is how I packed for Azusa here, right? Packs for Azusa, casts it, and then you're like, you can't pay.
Frankly,
you only have 2 more land drops, and you picked up the bounce land to itself. You didn't pick up the other land.
His stream is a delight.
It's nice.
Keep it on 6 here. It looks like there is a Force of Will.
All right, so pass the Force of Will check.
Daze as well.
A lot to like.
Force, Daze, Ponder, Gurmag, Angler, 2 lands. This is
That's
a strong
nice
hand.
Yeah, that's a nice 6 for this matchup.
A lot of stuff going to the graveyard as well, so it shouldn't be too terribly long before the Angler is online. And no turn 1 Chalice. That's a pretty big win for Brad.
Ancient Tomb go. Let's take a look at the mono red hand. Cataxian Probe is cast. We have Cavern of Souls and a Mountain, 2 Chrome Moxes, a Magus of the Moon, and I believe that's a Prophetic Flame Speaker.
So remember what I was saying about how you hope that the red deck's hand is just bad and they kept a bad 7? This is
a bad 7?
This is the kind of hand you're hoping that they have. This is very beatable.
Yeah, Ancient Grudge is in Brad's hand in case Sean tries to cast some Chrome Moxes. Those Chrome Moxes aren't very good.
No.
Not in this hand.
You have to exile one of your 2 spells that matter. And I'm using the word matter pretty generously. Don't know how much Prophetic Flame Speaker matters.
If it connects, it's really good. I don't know if it's going to do that.
Yeah. And
the hard thing is there's also Prophetic Flame Speaker is double red.
It's double red, so you would have to Chrome Mox or make 2 land drops first. And if Sean just goes for Magus of the Moon without playing a Mox, Brad can just daze that.
See,
well,
Cavern
not
of
so
Souls.
Much. That changes
Magus
the equation.
of the Moon.
And that Ancient
hey,
Grudge,
and Brad.
not so hot.
Yeah. Okay. Do you beat this?
He needs a lightning bolt pretty quick.
Yeah. Cavern of Souls, just making sure the game's not going to interact too much. Brad down to 14 on the attack here. 2 mountains. Now he can go for 1 more. It could get Force of Will, but there's no real way around that for Sean if he goes for the Flame Speaker. So we'll just do it. Here's Prophetic Flame Speaker. That's going to eat a Force of... No, it's not eat a Force of Will.
These creatures have to have a common creature
yeah,
type, right?
Yeah.
Are they both shamans
No, it
or
doesn't
something?
matter.
Like
It doesn't matter. There's a blood Magus.
Oh, it's just
play.
mountains. Yeah. But you
Yeah.
can't daze it.
I think Brad wants to counter it, but he did take that top. The problem is he slid that card off the top of the deck. They can call a judge on this, but Brad's not going to win this judge call.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of visually acknowledged that the spell resolved.
Yes, picking it up. And just another mountain says go. And here's Prophetic Flame Speaker. And this card, when it connects, is serious business. Swings in. This is going to be for 4. Each time Prophetic Flame Speaker connects, you exile the top card of your deck and may cast it till end of turn. So you see a Braid and Simian Spirit Guide. Chalice of the Void on 1.
Yeah, that one's going to be grudged anyway.
And this game was actually, it's going to be a runaway for Mono Red. It was on a razor's edge there. Is that Cavern of Souls that ended up mattering here? Without that, Brad's probably fine.
Brad picked up a lightning bolt. That's
okay.
actually very significant.
So he picks up lightning bolt. I mean, he has to bolt the Magus, right?
Right. But he's got 4 cards in his graveyard. That'll be the 5th. He has Gurmag Angler. That just checks Flame Speaker.
All right, so Magus of the Moon is gone with the lightning bolt. Brad gets his mana again.
There's a Deathrite Shaman as well.
Yeah, hold on.
You can wasteland that Cavern of Souls.
We're still playing another Cavern in Sean's hand, but I don't know if he has another threat. Brad finds Tropical Island.
That'll allow him to flash back that Ancient Grudge if he ever has to.
Absolutely.
Things suddenly not looking too bad.
No. And you know that the last cards in Sean's hand are just Chrome Moxes. Deathrite Shaman and Gurmag Angler from Brad. Tons to like. He's tapped down, so Blood Moon could get him again, but he has the Force of Will to protect this time. Umezawa's Jite picked up for Sean. If he'd had that last turn, it'd be much scarier. Double Strike plus Jite is near unbeatable. However,
plays quite well with the double strike creature. You do get to hit first, and I suppose you don't get enough counters to actually trade in that combat.
No, you just win.
You lose your Flame Speaker, right? You hit for first strike, and then you have 2 counters. Oh, you can just pump twice.
No, you win.
You pump twice, okay.
It's gross.
Yeah, the card gets 2 counters.
Yeah, 1/1 double strike with a Jite can successfully kill a 5/5. Well, 6/6 is a trade.
This Jite is going to need a Force of Will.
It better.
The one that Brad wanted to use on the Flame Speaker.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. Force of Will pitching days. Get rid of that Jite. It's one of the scariest cards. So we go back over to Brad. 5 minutes in the round. Draws for turn.
There's not much in the way of food for the Deathrite Shaman, which is worth noting.
Right.
So that's kind of Brad's clock. He can't really attack with the Angler because that has to block the Flame Speaker.
Right. So he needs to find more action. He'll cast attacks and probe sees 2 Chrome Moxes.
Yeah, still Chrome Mox, huh? There's a red card in Brad's hand.
Young Pyromancer.
That's not bad.
He'll cast. Says go. It's hard for him to attack into this board still. And
Yeah.
Simian Spirit Guide for Sean O'Brien.
Sure is.
Yep.
That doesn't change really anything in a meaningful way. And Brad found another red spell.
A Braid to shoot down Prophetic Planesweaver
Now
and
it's
an
easy.
Elemental. Gurmag Angler swings in. Back over to Sean. He's at 13 draws. Looks like Hanweir Garrison. Not a bad draw.
Yeah.
May not be enough, but it's close. Simian Spirit Guide going to swing in.
This one might be worth double blocking with Elemental Deathrite Shaman. The Shaman does not, it has a couple cards to exile, I suppose. A few lands in the graveyards. From 8, you don't have to be too concerned. One thing, a card that Mono Red used to play 4
Fiery
copies
Confluence?
of was Fiery Confluence. They're kind of moving away from it. Part of the reason is Fiery Confluence actually can't kill Planeswalkers anymore.
Okay.
So I don't know how up-to-date Brad and the Jessups are on lists for that, but pretty much they've been cutting all 4 copies of them, and Sean O'Brien has done that.
So Brad chump blocked away the Elemental, and then used Deathrite Shaman to bring Sean down to 9. Here's Hanweir Garrison. Carpenter's going to keep attacking, it looks like. Swings in. Sean either goes to 4 in the face of Deathrite Shaman, which is pretty scary, or has to chump block this Angler.
Well, it's just lethal in 1.
Yeah. If he takes this hit, he needs to win on the untap. You point that out to his teammates. He says, yeah, look, there's 2 spells in his graveyard. I have 2 Chrome Moxes in my hand.
Oh, these still don't do anything. These cards that were in my opening hand.
You almost knew that when you looked at his opening hand, right? That
Yeah.
He was a mull to 5.
The only way I'm
that's fine.
converting these is if I draw Pia and Kieran Nalaar and I sacrifice them.
Yeah. So it looks like Sean chose to go to 4. He's got to win now.
Put that Ancient Tomb off to the side. He's not using that one.
And he did draw Pia and Kieran Nalaar. So a bit of a...
It's not enough
No,
mana.
it doesn't have a mana anymore. Okay. He'll swing. Make sure that Brad makes the correct block, but Brad should. And with this...
This attack's not even lethal. 6.
Yeah, Team MGG here. Jessups and Carpenter look like they're going to be moving on.
Pretty free to throw the Deathrite Shaman in front of one of the human tokens. You can use the Pyromancer to trade with the Simian Spirit Guide if you're so inclined. Kind of the idea, you want Brad to be scared and use the Deathrite Shaman to gain life.
I don't know.
Don't expect that to happen.
Yeah, and you see, Andrew Jessup's lining up the blocks.
Yeah, once Andrew's done with his match.
Right. This is the advantage of having in the middle seat.
You just like have him play all 3 matches.
Hey, Brad, do this. Okay, got it. Got it, coach.
You're the boss. What should I do now, Andy?
You've won. You're good.
All right.
Nice. Well played.
Don't forget to activate your Deathrite Shaman.
Oh, yeah.
This is dead, Brad. I'll put it in the graveyard for you.
Brad strategically missed the Force of Will earlier in the game.
It was very clever. It was a good ruse. Even acted like it mattered.
Sean, you don't expect that later spell to get Force plus blue carded. And Brad Carpenter does it. Takes game 3, and he will win for his team. By Dan Jessup and Brad Carpenter both with the wins. They stay at 3 losses, improve to, where are we at? 10-3, still in the hunt.
And for the Mono Red